Good evening. Thanks for joining us. Local government leaders will inform Village of Allouez residents here at the bottom of the hour on the status of efforts to close Green Bay Correctional Institution.
And this comes after Republicans in the state legislature removed that closure from Governor Evers' most recent state budget proposal. Taylor Ziva live outside Allouez Village Hall with a preview of tonight's meeting. Taylor.
Yeah, Cami, in just about 30 minutes, a special board meeting will be held here to discuss key updates toward GBCI's closure. Senator Jamie Wall and Representative Ben Franklin will host the meeting along with the Allouez Village Board's president and members. They will expand upon what steps have been made to ensure that Green Bay Correctional Institution will close by 2029 in the upcoming state budget. The village president is on board with the closure and says there are plans to turn the site into a mixed-use development. This would bring in more families and businesses to the village.
I think that would be good for the town of Allouez. I think that more revenue brought in locally to our township would be absolutely wonderful. I'm a person that loves to shop locally, and I think it's a great idea.
The village is encouraging people to come out and attend and participate in the meeting that is scheduled to begin at 6:30. Tune in tonight at 10 to hear the details from the meeting. Reporting live in Allouez, Taylor Zebel, Action 2 News.